Councilor Asabi George. Councilor Flaherty. Councilor Jackson. Councilor Lamartina. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McCarthy. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Presley. Councilor Wu. And Councilor Zachem. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Happy Valentine's Day to all my council sweethearts. I want to ask all of you all to stand, and I'm going to ask Councilor Baker to come and introduce our faith leader for the day. Audience members, too, feel free to stand if you're able. After the invocation, please remain standing, and Councilor Baker will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. Today is my pleasure to introduce Father Matt Conley, who's currently the youngest priest in the Archdiocese. His classmate opened last week. Father Matt grew up in Dorchester, the youngest of three boys. He attended St. Mary's Elementary School, Our Lady of Chesterhova in Andrews Square. I should be able to say that. Sorry, Anissa. In South Boston. After graduating from North Cambridge High School, Father Conley attended the Seminary College in Providence, where in 2012 he graduated with a philosophy degree. He entered St. John's Seminary the following fall and performed his first Mass May at my parish, St. Margaret's in Dorchester, which I attended. And I have to just give Matt's father a shout out, Jack Conley. He was actually one of my father's wingmen. They used to solve the world's problems together. Father Matt Conley, thank you.
Great privilege to be here with you. Let us bow our heads in prayer and ask Almighty God to hear us and continue to bless and guide us. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, through you authority is rightly administered, laws are enacted, and judgment is decreed. Assist with your spirit of counsel and fortitude this city of Boston, and in a particular way, the mayor, the members of the city council, and all our elected leaders. May they always seek the ways of righteousness, truth, and mercy. Grant that they may be enabled by your powerful protection to lead the people entrusted to their care with honesty and integrity. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the
Thank you very much, Father, and thank you, Councilor Baker. Madam Clerk, could you please note that Councilor Presley is present? And we'll proceed with the approval of the minutes from last week's meeting. Are there any changes or amendments? Seeing none, hearing none, the minutes stand approved. And on to reports of public officers and others.
Docket number 0317, communication was received from Lawrence S. DeCara, Chairman of the Audit Committee, updating the City Council on their meetings held with independent auditors KPMG LLP for the year ending December 31st, 2016.
Docket 0317 will be placed on file.
Docket number 0318, notice was received from the mayor of his absence from the city from 3 p.m. on Tuesday, February 7th, until 10:15 p.m. on Tuesday, February 7th, 2017.
Docket 0318 will be placed on file. Matters recently heard for possible action.
Docket number 0133, order for hearing to explore additional investments in mental health clinicians in the Boston Police Department.
Would the chairwoman of the Committee on Homelessness, Mental Health, and Recovery like to give a report?
Thank you, Madam President, and I'd like to first thank my co-sponsor, Councilor Presley, on her efforts in this matter as well. Yesterday, we had a thoughtful, great, very interesting, certainly educational hearing about the BEST program and really about the need that everyone agrees to, the need to have clinicians on board with the Boston Police Department, and physically, literally on board, to really divert those that have, that are experiencing an incredible mental health crisis at any moment in time, really work to divert them from the criminal justice system into the medical system, into the mental health system, really assist those that are most vulnerable, most at need at their time of need. And we were very lucky yesterday to have Commissioner Evans with us, Chief Hooley of EMS, as well as a number of other folks, those that run the BEST program through Boston Medical Center, as well as Judge Kathy Coffey from Boston Municipal Court. And she oversees specialized courts in Boston, including our mental health courts, our homeless court, drug court, and a veterans specialized court. And her experiences in those specialized court really added to the conversation yesterday. Councilor Presley, I'm sure, will have more to say about it, and I thank her for her leadership in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sabi George. Chair recognizes the lead sponsor, Councilor Presley.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Chairwoman, for your partnership in this endeavor. And so many, all of you, I think, pretty much signed on to this, and many of you were at the hearing yesterday. And it was a very educational and informative hearing, and really did reinforce the benefits of the BEST program and the need for us to make a more formidable financial investment, so that this is not funded through grants, but through a predictable revenue stream. This is in the best interest of public safety, of public health. This will improve and save lives, and also save money. Judge Coffey very eloquently spoke to, in her estimation, the 3 ways in which this would be most helpful. And I concur, because I certainly do see this as working hand in glove with other criminal justice reform efforts that are underway. But it's diversion. It ensures or increases the likelihood of ensuring police safety, as well as restoring the trust and confidence of the public. When people know that when they call the Boston Police Department and their loved one is experiencing an EDP or is emotionally disturbed, that if they call the Boston Police Department, that they will not be arrested and incarcerated, but they will instead receive treatment and be connected to the services in the immediate and the long term that they so desperately need. And so, again, we thank, on behalf of myself and Councilor Sabi George, thank all of you for your participation yesterday. And we'll be talking to figure out where best to leverage and collectively apply our pressure and advocacy to see a reliable and predictable revenue stream for this important program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Presley. Docket number 0133 will remain in the Committee on Homelessness, Mental Health, and Recovery. Motions, orders, and resolutions.
Docket number 0319, Councilors Linehan and Wu offer the following home rule petition for a special law regarding an act relative to voting precincts in the city of Boston.
Councilor Linehan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for signing on and partnering with me on this important matter, and for initiating the discussion on re-precincting in here at the City Council with the Elections Department and others. I put this matter forward because there are 6 or 7 precincts within Boston right now that are just so overpopulated that it's almost virtually impossible for everyone to go and vote at any one time at the same place. This home rule petition will allow us to establish 1 or more additional polling locations in those certain precincts. None of these adjustments will in any way affect boundaries. So whether it's a representative, senatorial, council, district, whatever, these will not affect those. This will just be inclusive within the precinct. These precincts have grown dramatically over the past 10 years because Boston has not grown out but up. And therefore, most of that has occurred in the downtown corridor. The reason we're doing a home rule petition is that for these new polling locations, so that they can be included in the Commonwealth's statewide voter registration information system. And then therefore, our colleagues at the state government would adopt this also, and therefore we're hoping this could be ready for the upcoming election in September and November. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Linehan. I'll just add my thanks. We'll do sign-ons first, then I'll make some brief comments. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor Zachem, Councillor Presley, Councillor O'Malley, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor LaMattina, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Sabi George, Councillor Siomo, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Baker. And again, thank everyone for, please add I'm already on. I want to thank everyone for signing on and for your participation in all of the re-precincting conversations, particularly Councillors O'Malley and Presley, who have led the charge many years now on my time in the council, and former Councillor Mike Ross, who had pushed it before that. It's great to see something concrete come out of this, fingers crossed, in time for this next election. This is really about voter access and one of the most fundamental rights that we could be making accessible to people in the city of Boston. So docket number 0319 will be assigned to the Committee on Government Operations.
Docket number 0320, Councilor Flaherty offered the following order for a hearing regarding the registration and tracking of sex offenders in the city of Boston.
Councillor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This comes from constituents raising concerns about sex offenders popping up in their neighborhoods and their concern around the lack of public awareness as well as lack of proactive communication. And then from that, we learned that there's an existing loophole in the current legislation that allows for homeless offenders to register without a verifiable address. For example, South Station, Rose Kennedy Greenway, Franklin Park, the Boston Common. Therein puts residents at risk, particularly women and children, with respect to convicted sexual predators. So some recent statistics that are arguably a little staggering. There's at least 200 sex offenders that list their last known addresses as in Boston. And we know that there's at least 150 of those offenders that have listed either shelters or just public spaces as their known address. So this is a hearing to convene the appropriate parties, Boston Police Department, Boston Public Health Commission, representatives from the shelters, to try to craft a solution whereby we're protecting the public from sexual predators, particularly those that are more likely to reoffend. And this is really geared towards protecting women and children, and to recognize that public spaces, listing that as a known address is unacceptable. And there's also another potential problem with the loophole, is that you could actually have someone that has a legitimate address, but for fear that they don't want to broadcast or notice that they're a sexual predator or a convicted sex offender, that they'll just, instead of listing their own address so that their neighbors and people in their community would know, they are listing addresses like South Station, Rose Kennedy Greenway, Public Gardens, and Franklin Park, et cetera. So I think there needs to be a better job at tracking that down. And we also know that there's a significant amount of folks that when you're listed as homeless, that you have to re-register every 30 days. And so we need some help from the shelters to work with us here with respect to who's a sexual offender and who's required to register and who's not. And the penalties for that are pretty significant. If you're not in compliance or if your address is not verifiable, it carries with it either a 6-month to a 2.5-year stint at the Suffolk County House of Correction. So there are some ramifications. The problem with it is that when you list your address, say as the Rose Kennedy Greenway, the Boston Police have really nothing to go on. So they're doing the best they can with the information that they have, but because of the loophole, the information's a little too loosey-goosey, and this is a very serious issue that puts the public in harm's way. So our hope is that we could craft a solution and get it to our counterparts at the state so we could strengthen this legislation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor Campbell's name, add Councillor Baker, Councillor Siomo, Councillor Sabi George, Councillor LaMattina, Councillor Linehan, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor O'Malley, Councillor Presley. Would anyone else like to speak on this? Oh, please add Councillor Jackson. Docket number 0320 will be assigned to the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice.
Docket number 0321, Councilor Sabi George offered the following order for a hearing regarding access to affordable housing.
Councillor Sabi George, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. As we know, Mayor Walsh has established the goal of 53,000 new housing units by the year 2030, a goal that includes affordable units, workforce units, and senior housing. This effort has been well underway. I know that we all support those goals, and I especially appreciate the support of each of you you've given me on the issue of affordable housing for homeless families. I've learned a lot about homelessness during the last 14 months of working on this issue. And the most important thing I've learned is that the solution for homelessness is housing. Now that the mayor has been doing his part, we all have more work to do. We have to make it easier for people to access housing. I won't make you listen to a list of agencies or CDCs or developers that play a role in managing, developing, creating affordable housing. But if you can picture a woven or a knit or a tangled gate of regulations and red tape, you'll see a great challenge. This tangled web discourages people from even trying to access these affordable housing units. We need to make accessing this housing not just affordable, but doable. We need a central place for people to access and apply for these units, and I ask that all of you join me in this effort. Just think of that gate of red tape opening so people who want to continue living in the city of Boston can access one of our great affordable units. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sabi George. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councillor Campbell's name, Councillor Siomo, Councillor Baker, Councillor LaMattina, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Linehan, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor O'Malley, Councillor Presley, Councillor Zachem. Councillor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Just like to commend our colleague, City Councilor Anissa Sabi George, for this order, and please have my name added. And it's something that we see across the city, particularly around the affordable housing lotteries. Everybody, for the most part, or at least a significant number of the public, literally think that you just fill out your name and they roll it up and they put it into a ball and they swish the hand around and they pull out of a lottery and they inform you that you're the proud owner of a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. And that's really not how it works. And there's some science behind it, and this folks have to get a ton of paperwork, and some of that paperwork could be intimidating. It could be daunting, particularly those that have no financial literacy capabilities and or don't have credit issues and or have issues around spouses having passed away and or disability payments that they're receiving or veterans benefits. So that's very intimidating, particularly for our elderly population, where when they have to sit down and have to fill out paperwork and disclose things, and they're very sensitive to that. But having someone there to hold your hand, to walk you through the process, I think will go a long way in letting folks know, because we all know between the volume of permits going through this, through the city, through 1010 Mass Ave and through here, and the number of affordable units that are coming on. But then you talk to folks in your neighborhood and you really don't know anybody that's getting the opportunity for these affordable units. I think it'll go a long way. There's some hand-holding that's definitely required. There's some intimidation. There's also some financial literacies. All of it is combined with the fact that people either won't submit or go down that road to try to get an affordable unit when they're fully qualified to do so. Or worse, they just don't understand the process, and they literally think that you just go fill out your name as if you sign up for a raffle, and they're going to pull your name out of a hat. And we also know that that's not how it happens either. So hopefully we'll have an expedited hearing on it, and look forward to working with my colleague and sharing experiences that I see across the city. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Madam Clerk, please add Councillor Flaherty's name. Councillor Jackson, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I want to give propers to Councillor Sabi George for dealing with this very important issue. I just wanted to go on record and also note we have problems in the way that this system works. And I've talked to small developers who have the hardest time actually getting these units, and I have a couple in my district that are still empty because the process is so cumbersome for someone who doesn't have a whole agency that actually does this. And it has one or two units. So I really am happy that you are bringing this up. So access is a critical component. There's a limited amount of time that is given, and these lotteries are often required to happen during the day, right? So if you're a working person who's actually struggling already, you're now taking a day off of work to go to something that you don't know whether or not you're actually going to actually get. The other piece that I think that we need to begin to talk about is what is affordable. All right. So we talk affordable, but we know that a lot of affordable units are 70% AMI, which is about $65,000 to $70,000. We know that 50% of people in Boston make $35,000 or less. So we have to also have that conversation about what is really affordable for people in neighborhoods and communities. And I really, again, I want to give kudos to Councilor Asabi George on this. It's about time that we have all of these agencies come in and we have this conversation and figure out how to do it best, not only for the developers, but for the people who are actually needing this affordable housing, who are getting pushed out of the city while units stay empty in the city. So this is really right on time, and I look forward to signing on, but also supporting this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Madam Clerk, you had Councillor Jackson signed on already, right? Okay, great. Councillor Campbell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Councillor Asabi George, for filing the hearing order and doing it at a time when I think everyone is talking about housing, affordable housing, and access to affordable housing. But Councillor Jackson made a point that made me want to stand up, which in talking about small developers. I have residents who live in my district who own two-family homes and who are trying to work with the Boston Housing Authority to get families who are in need into a unit in their home. And the process by which they have to go through inspections and multiple inspections is very daunting. And sometimes we have folks who they are definitely providing units that are affordable and at rates way below those numbers, who eventually give up because they're just sick and tired of the red tape. So I would hope that the Boston Housing Authority would be invited to participate and be a part of this conversation, because I think there's folks in our communities now, who want to provide actual affordable units to their neighbors and to folks in the community who are just frankly throwing their hands up because they're frustrated by the process. So thank you again for continuing the conversation in this format. And I hope the Boston Housing Authority will also participate. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Madam Clerk, could you please add the chair's name as well? And docket 0321 will be assigned in the Committee on Housing and Community Development. There are no late filed matters for the main agenda, so we'll move on to the green sheets. Would anyone like to pull a matter from the green sheets? Seeing and hearing none. There are two late filed matters for the consent agenda, which in the absence of objection will be added. Hearing none, those items are added. Chair moves adoption of the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Consent agenda is adopted. Would anyone like to make a statement or address the group? Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Madam President. Just for planning and scheduling purposes, and I know that advocates are in the chamber as well, so tentatively looking at two potential dates for a hearing around the just cause eviction, looking at potentially Thursday, May the 2nd, and or Monday, March the 6th. So lots of moving parts. There's lots of panels and folks and advocates that we need to connect with, but looking at Thursday, March the 2nd, and or Monday, March the 6th, starting at 10 a.m. So those are the two dates, but as soon as I have some more clarity and definitive schedule, then I'll make sure that we notify the appropriate parties. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Councillor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask unanimous consent to make a brief statement.
You have it.
Just wanted to thank the over 50 young Bostonians who this weekend took me up on the hydrant challenge, where they shoveled out fire hydrants and in return received a $5 or will be receiving a $5 gift card to JP Licks. I encourage you all to steal it. We had mostly District 6 kids, but quite a few from outside District 6, and it was just a wonderful opportunity to see so many young people involved in really learning how to be good citizens.
Could you just explain the challenge again?
The challenge is if you send if you're a young person and you see a fire hydrant in your neighborhood and you shovel it out, and you have your mom or dad take a before and after pic and either tweet at me or email me the picture, you will get a $5 gift card to JP Licks. And JP Licks, a generous local business. It's a chain, but it all began in Jamaica Plain. I paid for some of these, but they also donated some as well. So they've been a great partner. So we've been doing this now. This is our third time doing it. Last year we didn't do it. And typically we get 15, 20 kids. We had over 50 this weekend, and it was a great thing. So we'll keep doing it. It's good citizenship and ice cream. What could be better than that? So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor O'Malley. The final announcement I'll make before we stand in remembrance of some individuals is about our next council meeting time. So we don't have a meeting next week because of the President's Day holiday, but for our March 1st meeting, we will be moving the start time from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. This is a very, very rare occurrence for the City Council. And this is in deference to tradition and particularly to the mayor and the Boston Municipal Research Bureau's schedule, as this is their annual meeting. The mayor delivers his policy speech, and it is tradition for counselors to make themselves available to attend if you all are interested. So I have been assured with many, many apologies that the venue and the mayor and the combination of schedules was unavoidable. So they're very, very sorry, and we have agreed to accommodate their scheduling. We'll start at 2 p.m. So thank you all for understanding for March 1st. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask all counselors and guests to please rise. Today, we will adjourn our City Council meeting in memory of the following individuals. For Councilor Flaherty, Priscilla Dixie, Edward Kilburn, and Stephen Knievi. For Councilor Jackson, his former intern, Robert Stuckey. For Councilor LaMattina, James T. Jim Cahill. For Councilor McCarthy, Eric J. Krug. And for Councilors Baker and Asabi George, John Ryan. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Chair moves that when the council adjourns today, we do so in memory of the aforementioned individuals. We are scheduled to meet again Wednesday, March 1st at 2 p.m. All in favor of adjournment say aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Council is adjourned.